Hello everyone, it is ET8313, and today I have another commander video for you guys today, and my commander that I am showing off and my deck is for Mikaeus the Unhallowed. It is my tribal zombie deck, and Mikaeus I figured was the best choice simply for the Undying. The Undying is awesome for zombies. And Mikaeus' ability, he has 6 to cast, 5/5, he has Intimidate, and whenever a human deals damage to me, I get to destroy it, and other non-human creatures I control get +1/+1 and have Undying. So like I said, the Undying is really, really good. And the +1/+1 is good, and Intimidate for Mikaeus is awesome, because so often I can kill people with commander damage simply because of the Intimidate and buffing him. So, moving on to what's in the deck. I have 35 swamps. And for non-basic, I've got Crypt of Agadim, I believe that's how it's pronounced. It enters the battlefield tapped, you get to add a black, and then pay 2, tap, add black to your mana pool for each black creature card in your graveyard. So with zombies, that can be rather substantial. Just a Bazooka Bog, enters the battlefield, and you get to exile target player's graveyard. And Homeward Path, simply because I like to use this for removal. Add 1 colorless, but you tap it, each player gains control of all creatures he or she owns. This is a really good land to have in a mono black deck, simply because it gives you that extra bit of, not necessarily removal, but when people like to steal your creatures from you, and since mono black doesn't have a lot of enchantment removal and sorcery stuff and counters and all that fun stuff, this is really good to get control of your creatures again, especially with Mikaeus. People love to try and steal him from me, so I play this land and I can get him back. Alright, moving on to the instants, sorceries, and artifacts, and all that jazz, and enchantments too. So I have a Necromantic Selection. It destroys all creatures, then return a creature card put into a graveyard this way to the battlefield under my control. And it becomes a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. So, essentially a board wipe. And in Garrick's Wake, another board wipe, but for everyone else, and not my stuff. Woohoo! An Army of the Damned. This card is great because it gives me 13 2/2 zombie creature tokens, and it has a flashback. Yes, it is expensive to cast, but it is so worth it when you can get it off. And Extinguish All Hope. Tendrils of Corruption. Deals X damage to target creature, and I gain X life, where X is the number of swamps you control. If I play this late game, it benefits me so much, simply because I have lots of swamps. Liturgy of Blood. I always say that wrong. But it's basically a destroy creature spell, and you add 3 mana. So, you kind of get the mana back that you spend on it. Obelisk of Erd, simply to buff my zombies. Ritual of the Turned, so I get to return, or put a black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Its power is equal to that card's power, and toughness to that card's toughness. It's pretty decent. Liliana Vess, simply just because she's a necromancer. She's gotta be in the deck. But her -8 is amazing. Take everyone's creatures. Woohoo! And I have a Clutch of Undeath. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 as long as it's a zombie. Otherwise, it gets -3/-3. So I can either use this to debilitate someone's creatures or buff my own. Bladed Pinions, just to give something flying, because there's not a lot of flying zombies. A Lash Wraith, to make an incredibly large zombie. Vile Rebirth, just to get a little token. Death Render, more for buffing zombies. The Argentine Armor, more zombie buffing. Rescue from the Underworld, pretty basic buyback sort of thing. And a Ring, more buffing. Zombie Apocalypse. Return all zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, then destroy all humans. Definitely good if someone, or even myself, just board wiped. Hideous Visage. Creatures you control gain intimidated until end of turn. Definitely good for killing people. Make all your stuff intimidate. Spine of Ishsaw, just for some removal. Endless Ranks of the Dead. So at the beginning of my upkeep, I get to put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is half the number of zombies I control rounded down, which can get really out of hand sometimes, especially if you just played the card that gives you like 13 2/2 zombies. It's awesome. And then Cruel Revival. Destroy target non-zombie creature. It can't be regenerated, but I return up to one target zombie card from my graveyard to my hand. And a Grave Betrayal. Whenever a creature I don't control dies, return it to the battlefield under my control with an additional +1/+1 counter on top of it. And at the beginning of the next end step, that creature, or return it at the beginning of the next end step. And that creature is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. And lastly, a Door of Destinies. This is ridiculous. If someone does not destroy it soon, my zombies get huge. Ridiculously big. Bigger and stronger than a zombie should be. It's insane. Alright, moving on to the creatures for the deck. And I believe they are all zombies. Well, we'll see about that. So, a must-have zombie in almost any zombie deck is a Gravecrawler. It's 1 to cast, 2/1, just a dinky little thing, but you get to cast it from your graveyard. And a Corpse Connoisseur. When it comes into play, you may search your library for a creature card and put that card into your graveyard. If you do, shuffle your library. The reason why I use this card is because if I don't have this out yet, I go and look for this, put it in my graveyard, and then since I can cast it from my graveyard, it's essentially a tutor for that card. Next, I have Pontiff of Blight. It has an Extort, and other creatures I control have Extort, which can be ridiculous. Gain some life, and it's a 2/7, so it's got a big butt. And I have a Sanguine Guard. First strike and just regenerate, nothing too special. I have a Malfield Twins, and when it dies, put two 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. And I have a Shepherd of Rot. This card, it hurts me, but at the same time, it really helps when my life total is so much bigger than other people's. But each player loses, you tap it, each player loses 1 life for each zombie in play, which is ridiculous sometimes. And an Order of Yawgmoth. It has fear, and whenever it deals damage to a player, that player discards a card. And I have a Cemetery Reaper. Other zombies I control get +1/+1. Pay 3, exile target creature card from a graveyard, and I get a zombie token. A Dreadslaver. Whenever a creature dealt damage by it this turn dies, returns to the battlefield under my control, and it becomes a zombie. Ghoul Raiser. Just basic little zombie. Grey Merchant. This card can be ridiculous for making people lose life and me gaining life because it's mono black deck, so my devotion to black is usually ridiculous. Now this isn't a zombie, but the card needs to go in a zombie deck. So it's Ghoul Color Giza, I think that's how you say it. But black, tap, sacrifice another creature, put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is a sacrifice creature's power. Generally, I use this for, you know, if I have someone else's creature on my battlefield, I'll just sack their stuff, because I want to keep my stuff. So, that's pretty good in a zombie deck. Just have a Gravedigger. And then Undead Warchief. Makes my zombie spells less to cast, and it gives my zombie creatures +2/+1. Buffing them zombies. And I have an Undead Executioner. Limduel the Necromancer. Once again, he is not a zombie, but whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from play, I may pay 2. If I do, return it to play under my control. If it's a creature, it's a zombie in addition to other creature types. But the perfect thing is pay 2, regenerate target zombie. This is so good when people try to kill my stuff. Phyrexian Crusader. First strike, pro red and white and infect. Twisted Abomination. Essentially, I just use it for a big, huge zombie. Unbreathing Horde. So it enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counters equal to the number of zombies I already control. Raving Dead, Death Touch. At the beginning of combat on my turn, choose an opponent at random, and this card must attack that opponent. A Skin Render. A Lifebane Zombie. Blood Scrivener. I think that's how you say it. And this Ghoul, just kind of in there for a cheap cast zombie. Servant of Timuret. Geth, Lord of the Vault. He's one of my favorite zombies. He has Intimidate, and you pay X and black, put target artifact or creature card with converted mana cost X from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control tapped. Then that player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. It is awesome. Liliana's Reaver. A Nimtrieker, essentially just in there for a flying zombie. My huge ass Grave Titan, very decent big zombie. Toxic Nim. And this Summon Lord, which is not a zombie, but Zombie Master. You pay 3, and all zombies gain Swamp Walk and pay 1 black to regenerate. It is awesome. My Carrion Crow, essentially in there just for a flying zombie. Infectious Horror. This is good because every time it attacks, each opponent loses 2 life. So, yeah, it's pretty decent. Black Cat. And when he dies, target opponent discards a card at random. Vengeful Pharaoh. Death Touch, and whenever combat damage is dealt to you or a planeswalker you control, if it is in my graveyard, destroy target attacking creature, then put Vengeful Pharaoh on top of your library. This is a must-have for every zombie deck. Death Baron, he's 3 to cast, 2/2, and skeleton creatures you control and other zombie creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. Now I have my Gem Palm Polluter, 6 to cast and has cycling, but when you cycle it, you may have target player lose 1 life for each zombie in play, which can be very substantial, as you can tell by the deck itself. Now that is everything for my Mikaeus deck. As you can see, it is, zombies, and mainly about buffing the zombies, getting through with your huge army of zombies. It is ridiculous how fast this deck can build up a board state and how fast it can kill people just because you have so many creatures and people can't deal with everything. But anyways, that is my Mikaeus the Unhallowed deck. So I hope you enjoyed it. Give me some tips or advice if you have any. Anyways, ET8313 out.